Hello and welcome to today's episode of Sis Get a Grip. And we're basically discussing the topic of, give me a drum roll, sis, fighting, okay? That's good sound effect, you're good. But basically we want to talk about this very sticky topic, and it's just fighting, but specifically fighting in a relationship. Okay. That works too, marriage, relationship, but specifically, marriage, like what fighting entails, what it is, and how we try to avoid it. But those times are going to come. So once they do come, how do we fight in a marriage in a healthy way? And so we're going to just get down into some of those things today, and we're going to start with, we're going to talk about 3 major points that, you should consider when you encounter fighting in your marriage. Okay?
You can go.
Yeah.
I agree. So when fighting in marriage, one thing that I've learned, and I wish I knew this before I got married, was to make sure you fight fair. I have an unfortunate history of not fighting fair, where it also stems from the fact that I bottle a lot of things in. So when the fight between the husband and I does erupt, all these things that probably happened like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 hours ago, 4 days ago, pop up, right? Not to say like a lot of issues happen, but like that's an example I can give where I begin to bring that up, but also I begin to say things that don't even matter. Like, I don't know, like, oh, you're short. I don't know, like things that like don't matter, but more so things that like will potentially hurt him. And I realized that is not fighting fair. But more importantly, it's just hurting the person that you're having. It's like, it's healthy to fight, so why not do it the right way? And in that process, I've learned that it's easier and it's better to focus on what the issue is at hand. Because from my past where I haven't fought fair, I end up apologizing for things that, one, I should have never said, so obviously I have to apologize. But now the issue that's at hand is not being addressed because I'm spending my time and my energy making up for the negative things I said when I shouldn't have said it to begin with. So when it comes to fighting fair, I think hands down that's like we were saying, it's okay to fight. I think that's the number 1 rule, especially in marriage, is to fight fair, because you have to get your point across. And sometimes it does get to the point where you have to argue. That's okay.
Yeah.
But do it in the most respectful and loving way as possible. And I think that's where fighting fair comes in.
And I agree with that. I think that when people fight to hurt. You try to reach below the belt. Like when you, let's say somebody puts you in a train, or I don't know, in the grocery store, and you got into a fight. You're fighting to hurt the next person. And I don't think that's the kind of fight we talk about in a relationship.
Yeah. Which
in a relationship, the fight is fair. You're not reaching for the insecurities and throwing them in their face, because you want to, in the end of the day, the fight will pass, and you want to make sure that where you guys, nothing that you said, the fight that you had solved what it was intended to solve, and it's not carrying into the next thing. I think you captured that perfectly again by saying that you kind of, you say things and you pull from all sorts of angle, and you realize that you didn't even get to the bottom of what you started fighting in the first place. And it could be you forgot to put the toilet seat up, and
I just think the same thing.
Really? That's a lot of things that couples fight about. It's so weird. That doesn't happen here.
Same thing.
Up, down, I'm peeing.
I'm just gonna go.
I know. But let's say something as simple as that. It's so simple, and this is and that's why your parents didn't even show you right. I knew you weren't raised right, and you're just now you've taken the
toilet seat
to his parents, his upbringing, questioning him or her, and now something that was just a toilet seat. The fight should have been, the logical fight would have been babe, the toilet seat, every time I have to sit on it, it's wet. So when you go, put it up. So that when I come, like, let's compromise. I'll put it up when I'm done. I don't know. I don't have the toilet seat reference in my household.
Yeah.
But I'm using that as a reference point. Like, make it about the toilet seat and don't pull from, I don't know, other places. Yeah.
I also think, like, when you find yourself pulling from other places, it's also for you to highlight that you have other issues that you have not addressed, right? And I say that for myself because when I start pulling from other places, I'm just like, this happened 2 months ago, and now you want to dwell on it, or now you want to bring it up. Like, it's good to address those issues in the moment versus waiting for the big fireworks to happen. Like, have your small firecrackers. And when the firework does happen, like, actually, like, let it just be about that.
Yeah.
And nothing else, nothing more.
Yeah.
Because it does get out of hand.
And I think ladies do this a lot, where it's like they have this archive of like things that bother them, and it's like I'm telling you, and the moment like something comes on, it's like, well, there was that time, and it's like we're just pulling out the bucket because we want to address as much of it as possible because we feel like we got an opportunity. But actually doing that is counterproductive because what happens is you're throwing all these things at guys, and I think when we were doing our content planning, we read that guys are just logistics and we're more intuitive. So like, if you're throwing all of these things, it doesn't make sense how one issue
led to the other.
Yeah, like it completely doesn't make sense. They're still trying to figure out the one thing, and you have gone on this whole tangent, and it didn't even help. Yeah, you want to hit the next point?
Okay, great. So the next one is not all arguments require a response, either emotionally and or physically. And as you guys know, I'm just an emotional being. Like,
we all
that's just who I am. And I know, like, in marriage counseling, they say you pick and choose your battles. But I wish I knew this specific thing, because able to realize that sometimes when the husband is telling me about something he's not unhappy with emotionally, I shouldn't like tune him out. Actually, physically, I shouldn't tune him out. Emotionally, I also shouldn't tune him out. And I think when we say, like, not every fight argument requires either emotion and or physical response, that's where at least I get it from. Like, I look at it. That's a perspective I'm looking at it from, where, like, sometimes my husband does need me to emotionally respond to whatever he's upset about. And sometimes I physically need to, like, walk away when there is a fight. And I think sometimes we have to take into consideration when to do that and when not to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to even decipher down that. Like, every time we talk about some of these things, I start to, like, learn as we're talking about it. And I think that not everything requires a response. I think, like, let's say, again, back to the toilet seat example, because that's just what I could think of for some reason today. Maybe because of back or something. Let's say the toilet seat example. If it's, you got to the toilet seat and you could have simply lifted it up and gone. If you have to pee so bad, just go. Like, you don't have to, like, you can pick, like, that's just not something that's worth in that moment to bring it up if you feel like it's going to bring an argument. So I think, like, just picking and choosing what to argue about. The toilet seat is something that you can compromise, and, like, maybe if it's left down, you put it up every time you come. That's something that you can, I guess,
meet each other halfway out.
Exactly. Yeah. Instead of trying to, like, always, hey, come, like, you're holding your pee, messing up your bladder, just to call him or her to come and see the toilet seat that they messed up. And it's like, dude, you could have peed, fixed the issue, and we could have had this conversation later. So kind of be very...
I'm so guilty. I'm so guilty.
Like, you're here, you are hurting yourself. And I do that too in so many different ways, where I'm just kind of like, you know what? Fix it first, and then we can have this conversation later, because it will easily bring an argument, and then come back and you have to, like, argue about peeing. Like, now you're holding your bladder, having an argument. I guarantee you forget that you even need to pee. Have this argument for however long it needs to, and, like, the problem is neither solved. Now he's upset. I'm saying he, but it goes both ways. I think you understand that, right? Now he's upset. Your bladder's full. Toilet seat was never changed because he probably walked away. And what did that solve? When all you could have simply done was, or I don't know, whichever way.
Yeah, I'm actually very guilty of that. Where, like, when I see something, which rarely happens, so I don't know why even like focus on it when it does. But like, if the husband does something while we're home and it's not something I like, I will stop everything. Like, the world stops for me. And I have to like, hey babes, come. And like you just said, like, it's not even worth it. Because like I said, it's always something small that I can fix or do to like solve the situation. But for me, I know I used to do it because I was just like, I want you to know that this is what you're doing wrong so you don't do it again. But the truth is, we are each going to continue to do something wrong, right? So why not avoid that fight in that situation and just solve that small issue yourself? And like you said that, and I was just like, dang, all the times you called into the sink, you could just turn the pipe off yourself. Like, just small things that like could really avoid a fight, but you just like still harvest on it for some reason, which I'm working on. It's all part of like the growing thing.
All a work in progress, and I think you want to be taken serious, because if you fight about every small little thing, now the big stuff comes like, no, you're whining, you're always fighting, but if you like fights are precious, right?
They really are. I love energy.
Yeah, they really do. So you want to save them from what they actually will make an impact. So save those little things and like save up for a rainy day. Those really big things you want to hit on, and like gather your thoughts, pray on it, and then bring it up. And it doesn't even have to be an argument or a fight. It could really be something that could have easily turned into a fight. It could like trickle down to like potato. Yeah,
that's actually very true. That's where my same thing should go to. But also, like, I think for me, the husband knows when to just like, oh, against me. Like, I get the against me. Oh, I'm not. Like, I get that a lot because and I'm not justifying my behavior. I think he also knows that like I am a bit dramatic in some situations. So he's just like, okay, all right. If that's what you want to do today, sure. And I think that's a good way to handle a fight. Like, know your spouse.
Yeah.
And know like what's worth engaging in. And I think that's where the physical and emotional part come in, right? Like, are you gonna be my great husband? Just be like, okay, fine. All right. Or you're gonna be me, which is not great. So most of the time, and just be like, we're gonna discuss this now. Like, channel your energy towards things that are gonna be good for your marriage. Especially in a fight. Like, yes, it's okay to fight, but channel your energy towards a positive ending to your fight.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that also brings me to this point. I think I had brought this up in the diaspora, where I was like, a marriage is like a string. Where, like, if we're both holding like two sides of the string and we're pulling, like, you don't both want to pull too hard on a situation very silly. You want to kind of, if you find your spouse like they're getting very easily, like agitated physically, whether that's the wife or the husband, I think that it's up, usually it's the girl's position, but people may choose to differ, but you want to pull back. Like, you don't want to both be pulling, because like even in a like tug of war, I used to play this game as a kid where we're both pulling and once the other person lets go, that is the advantage. That is to the advantage of themselves. Like, you lose the battle if I let go.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to just play it safe. Like, don't pull too much. Things that don't require argument, just let it go. And it's easier said than done. I know I'm like here like blah blah blah, but no, it be going down in my house. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is, your spouse is imperfect. He or she is going to make some mistakes. When he or she does, you would have a choice. You can either choose to focus on his or her shortcomings, or choose to look for the best in him or her. The choice is going to play a huge part in your attitude toward him or her, and in your marriage as a whole.
That's a lot.
That's a whole episode within itself.
Yes.
That's a whole episode.
That is.
Like, but I think I'll go back to my you an example where my husband's just like, oh, okay. I think he also has come to understand that I'm not perfect. I have a lot of shortcomings. But what makes him such a great guy is he always overlooks them. Like, I don't think I could say there's a time where he's not held me accountable, because he does hold me accountable, but like he's held a grudge per se, or like where I'm just like, well, the last time, I don't think he's ever done that to me. And I think that's where this goes to, like, you can either choose to, once again, focus your energy on something that's not going to make your marriage successful, or you can also choose to look at your husband or your wife as a human and understand that, like, as humans, we all have shortcomings, and we're all working towards to become better people. So, like, am I gonna look at my husband today as this, like, person who I'm mad at, or am I gonna look at my husband like, he made a mistake, he's working to fix it, or he made a mistake and he just, like, needs a moment, you know?
Yeah, nobody's perfect. Like, you'll be a fool. Sorry.
No, that's true.
Think that anybody's perfect, because I think we all have our shortcomings. And again, I think we had mentioned in one of our episodes that your childhood plays and what you're exposed to plays such a huge role. And I can't even think of anybody who could say I had the perfect childhood or perfect surrounding. And all these contribute to, like, the morals, the things, how you think the world should look like. And you're just not perfect based on just that alone.
Yeah.
Not that Christ is perfect, but we aim to be Christ-like, but we can never be perfect. So I don't think it's fair to expect Christ from someone.
Oh,
like,
I get it.
No,
I get it. Like, in what you're saying, like, Christ is perfect, so we should not expect that Christ-like perfection from a person.
Yes. You can only expect that from Christ. And it goes back to, I think, one of the episodes that we had mentioned, where it's like you want to make sure that you are in tune with God, and then in, like, your relationship next, because if you rely on the perfection from your spouse, your husband, your wife, like, it's not gonna work, because nobody's perfect. Like, and I think I'm very flawed, and I feel like I wear my flaws out. Like, hey, before you know, like, I'm dumb, I'm ditzy, I forget a lot, I definitely don't recognize phrases, and I'm just like, I'm always putting it out there because I don't want, like, somebody that has some kind of expectation of who I am to be disappointed when I can't they can't hold me to the standard that they have in their head. So, like, I kind of, like, and this is like a flaw of mine, that I wear my flaws on my sleeve, because I'm very vocal about my flaws. Like, hey, yep, no shower today, just anything, and it'll just be like, whoa, out of my mouth. But I'm learning to control that just a little bit more.
So the irony is, like, she's one of the, when you say Christ-like perfection, I think and this is, don't get gassed, right?
I'm bracing myself.
But I think in my life as a Christian, as a born-again Christian, you have been, at least for me, one of the closest people who exhibit Christ-like perfection. That's why your heart was godmother.
Girl.
When I tell you, Stacey,
don't make me cry on this podcast if that's not what it's about.
No, because, like,
cut this part out.
Like, I'm actually, like, very surprised to hear you say that, because, like, Stacey's very forgiving. There have been many times where these will get me to eye roll all day, and Stacey just be like, it's okay.
No. We all deal with it. It's just like, nobody's perfect. We can expect perfection from people, friends, relationships, husbands, friends, and I think people get disappointed. That's actually an episode of friendship we wanted to get into someday. But nobody's perfect. We're all just learning, work in progress. We're always learning. I'm always learning from you. I learned many great things from you, and yeah,
that's so interesting. She's great. Just throw that out there. Alright, so the last one. Alright, so overall, we just basically want people to walk away with the idea and the acceptance that conflict, fighting is part of marriage, or not just in marriage, but also in any relationship, that it is okay to fight, but we obviously have to do it healthy.
Yep. And we actually want to throw this quote in there, which reads, "The major difference between a great marriage and a marriage in trouble is not the amount of conflict, but the way in which the conflict is handled. The best piece of advice I ever received about handling conflict is from James 1, chapter 19. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry."
Well, I could say, unfortunately, in the past, I have not done all three. I think when we were contemplating, I mentioned that, like, I'm always, when the husband is saying something to me in the argument, I am already thinking of the rebuttal. Why? I don't know. Well, I do know, because I want to get my point across, but the truth of the matter is that's not the right way to handle any situation, not just a fight, or just a conversation in general. I think it's always good to, like, listen to the person, acknowledge that you've heard them, and also take time to process what the individual is saying, because in those situations, when you take the time to process, I think you need to realize, like, oh man, like, I have really messed up, like, oh, this wasn't okay. I think every time that I have been slow to respond, slow to become angry, and quick to listen, I've been able to actually get a better understanding of what the husband was trying to get me to understand, but also get a better understanding with whoever I was communicating with.
It's true. I'm trying to think of many relationships, like relationships in the workplace, friendships, like marriage. Like, you just wanna take your time, because sometimes you realize in listening that there was something that you missed, and you could probably find out later down the line that what you were upset about probably didn't even warrant that kind of response that you just given if you had just listened. So I think active listening is something that I'm still learning to do, because I, like you, I'm always listening, and it's just in one ear out the other, because what I'm thinking is I'm waiting for your sentence to end so I can, like, you know, just have an answer for you. I'm listening to respond. I'm not listening to actually hear what you have to say. So I think we can just, and we say we because this is also a work. We're also a work in process. Every time we say this, we're not saying that, you know, like, to wad our fingers at, like, our viewers. We're trying to say that we are still experiencing this. We are still learning this, and we've been married for what, like,
almost 2 years now.
Yeah. Ooh, we're working our way up. So
yeah.
I don't know. But so help us God. But we're learning as we go on. We're hoping to bring you on this journey, that as we learn, learn some of these, you know, concepts about marriage, as we make some of these mistakes, and kind of share these experiences with you, so that you can, one, not make them, or use this as a learning experience, or two, to know that there are people out there that are still struggling, that are still working through some of these problems, and you're not this alone.
Yeah. Alright, so this actually wraps up for today's episode. So as always, we appreciate all your support, and thank you for watching. Sis,
Get a grip.